Well, what is up, guys? Good morning. Thought I would do a little video for you guys today. Talking about something that I think needs to be talked about. I'm going to be talking about two people that I don't really tend to hover all that much on my channel. I don't really tend to speak about their channel all that much. It's the Radfords, Sue and Noel. So, to be honest with you, I wanted to talk more about this friendship they have with the Inghams. I really don't think it's a good idea. That's a good idea, to be honest. You know, I said the same. I basically said the same thing around when obviously they met up. When the Inghams met up with the Radfords at Centre Parks the other month, I said the same thing then. It wasn't, that the Radfords shouldn't want anything to do with Chris. The thing is with the Radfords, it's like you look at it and you think, well, why would they want someone like Chris in them around their kids? To me, that is a major child safety issue there. The fact that they're allowing somebody around their kids who has had quite serious, pretty serious allegations, made against them, which we all know are true. We all know that Chris did what he did, and there's evidence that proves what he did. Obviously he said he didn't do anything, but he's never actually shown any proof that he didn't do anything. Obviously with the Radfords, they've obviously been made to believe that, or been led to believe that the allegations are not true, and everything that's been said about about Chris isn't true and whatnot. And that's what they've kind of been led to believe or been made to believe. But we all know that it is all true, that he did sleep with fans and that he did, room and send sexually inappropriate messages to teenage girls. We all know what he did. And I look at it and I just think to myself, like, since when was it really sensible to have somebody like that around your kids? It's not a risk that, I as a parent, if I was a parent, it's not a risk that I would be willing to take. And it's not a risk that any parent should be willing to take. It's not a risk. It's not a risk that any decent parent would take. And I think that has to be said. To be honest, I think it's definitely not a risk that I personally would take. And I think that it's like, why would you want someone like that around your kids? Like, why would you want someone like that around your kids? Especially when you think about the nature of the allegations that have been made against him, that would, but that, it's a very easy decision to make. You don't have someone like that around your kids. But obviously, Sue and Noel probably would be stupid enough to believe the allegations made against him as well. We all know what's been said about Noel Radford anyway, about obviously the fact that Sue was 13 and I think Noel was about 17 or 18 when she first got pregnant. Which obviously is a bit iffy, to be honest, and I think, people looked at that and thought, like, what the fuck? 18-year-old, having a baby with, a girl that was 13, obviously, I think, that was probably viewed a bit differently at the time, but, it's still a bit, iffy, to be honest. Obviously child safety always has to come first, and that always has to be a priority, and it should always be the top priority and the number one priority. But the fact that Sue and Noel basically allowing that man to be around their kids after what he did, it's basically like they're sticking their fingers up and saying, well, we don't care about safeguarding our kids. Because if they did, they wouldn't be allowing that man to be around their kids. I'm certainly not saying that I think Chris would do anything to, or would try anything on with any of the Radford girls. I'm certainly not trying to apply that, but, I'm just saying that it's not a risk that I would take, and it's not really something that I would think it was sensible to do. I used to have to be honest, I did used to have a lot of respect for the Radfords, but not anymore. It's like, the fact that they would, they would allow someone like Chris to be around their kids is just absolutely shocking. I mean, it's like with Esme and Isla's friend, the friends that they have and everything. It's like I would, if I was their parent, the parents of their friends, I wouldn't want them going into the house. I wouldn't want them being near that man. I don't even know if Esme and Isla's friends' parents actually know about what he did. I'm sure the Raptors are probably fully aware of what Racinham did, and probably, and are probably very well aware that, Racinham is, is quite well known, but not for a good reason. And will know, and I'm sure that they're fully aware that, Racinham is is a very controversial person for a lot of reasons, and not someone that they should be being friends with, and that they should be having around their kids. But of course, as I said, they've probably been made to or been led to believe that the allegations made against Chris weren't true, even when even when there is substantial evidence that proves that the allegations were true. You know, it's just ridiculous. Like what as I said, I personally wouldn't take that risk of having somebody like this around my kids. It's not a risk that as a parent, if I was a parent, I would be willing to take. You know, it's not a risk that any decent parent would take. As I said before, I'm not trying to imply anything. I'm not trying to insinuate that I think Chris would try anything on him, or trying anything on with any of the Radford girls. I'm certainly, definitely not implying that. But you know, and obviously, I don't want people to think that I am trying to imply that, because I can assure you, I'm not trying to imply that. I think at the end of the day, I think it doesn't look at it from from face value. You don't look at it from. I think a lot of people would look at it the same way that I would look at it the same way I have, and would have the same viewpoint that I have, and I would say the same thing that saying the same things that I've said. They shouldn't be allowing Chris anywhere near their kids. Because of what he was accused of, and the fact that they would allow someone like him near their kids is actually quite baffling. It's actually quite shocking that they would allow someone like Chris anywhere near to be around their kids. It's not something that I as a parent would do. If I was a parent, I wouldn't feel comfortable having somebody with such a controversial reputation around my kids. Regardless of what people say, Chris Ingham is not someone that can ever really be fully trusted. And I think we all know that. It's like, why would you take that risk? Why would they want to take that risk of having someone like Chris Ingham around their kids? I really hope that this, and I don't, I wouldn't normally say this, but I really hope that this friendship that they've kind of got with the Inghams, I hope it kind of comes to backfire on them. And I hope that it causes, I hope it does cause a lot of problems for them. And I think, it will, I think, it will cause a lot of problems for them, because I think a lot of people will probably be quite pissed off about it, and probably be quite sort of angry about the fact that they've allowed someone like Chris to be around their kids. I think a lot of people would be pretty concerned about that, and would be looking at that thinking, well, why would you do that? Why would you want, someone like him to be around your kids? It's not completely, I don't think it's completely unfair to say that. I don't think it's completely wrong to say that they shouldn't be having someone like this around their kids. I think it's perfectly fair to say that, because they shouldn't be letting anyone like him near their kids. They shouldn't be, it's like, why would you want someone who has such a controversial, has such a dodgy reputation around your kids? Why as a parent would you want to take that risk? It's not a risk that as I say, it's not a risk that any decent parent would take. If I was a parent, it's not a risk that it's certainly a risk I wouldn't take. But it's just madness. I mean, I'm not saying that. It's nice that obviously, I mean, it's not. I don't know what to think about it really. I just don't think it's such a good idea, and I don't think it's something that. And I don't think it's a very sensible idea either for them to be allowing someone like Vasinum to be around it. It's certainly not something that I would do personally. As I just think it's a silly thing. It's not a safe thing to do. You know, I obviously knowing everything that we know about the cinema, knowing everything about what he did, why would you want sort of person around you? It's that sort of person around your kids. I mean, obviously, I think Simon would certainly be stupid enough to believe that the allegations weren't true. But at the end of the day, what you've got to look at, as I've said before, Hussein hasn't actually shown any evidence that proves he's innocent. Yeah, he did that video saying that he didn't do anything, and they've always maintained that he didn't do anything, but he's never actually shown any evidence that proves that. There is so much evidence out there that proves what he did. Obviously he will never admit to doing what he did, because we all know that if Chris Ingham admitted to what he did, that would be the end of the Ingham channel completely. We all know that if he was to admit to what he did, it would be game over for them, and he knows that as well. Which is why he's too scared to admit the truth, because it would basically be him admitting the truth, admitting that he did what he did, and did all of the things that he did, would be the end of their channel. And it's as simple as that. I mean, obviously, I don't mean anything. I don't have any. I don't mean anything against the Radfords. I just don't. Leave at the fact they've allowed someone like Vicinum to be around their kids. I just don't think that's a sensible idea. And there are a lot of reasons for why I think that. And it's because of the seriousness of the allegations that were made against him. I mean, I think if the allegations that were made against him weren't so serious, I probably would have a different viewpoint on it. I probably would say it's not too bad. But because the allegations that were made against him are so serious, that is why I'm saying it's not a good idea for them to be having him around their hits. So why would you want someone that's around their hits when they've had serious allegations made against them? I just don't know what to say, to be honest, but I certainly don't agree with it for the most part. I certainly don't think it's a good idea, or the most sensible idea, to have someone like him around here, have someone like him around their kids. I honestly don't know what Sue and Noel think. It's probably the stupidest thing they've ever done, and it's the biggest mistake they've ever made. Allowing someone like him to be around their kids. And I only hope that them allowing him to be around their kids doesn't result in unfortunate consequences. And I really hope that that them allowing Chris Ingham to be around their kids does come back to bite them on the arse, and I think it will. Because I think a lot of people will have lost respect for them, due to the fact that they've become friends with the Inghams. I know a lot of people are not going to like that. A lot of people are going to look at that and think, well, why the fuck would you, knowing what Chris did, and obviously so many people know what he did. A lot of people look at that and would think, well, why the fuck would you want someone like that around your kids? And you can't blame people for, people can't be blamed for questioning that. People can't be blamed for questioning why the fuck they would want someone like Chris around their kids. It's just madness at the end of the day. It's like if someone was accused of something like that, you wouldn't want them around your kids. But of course, as I said, Supernow have been led to believe the allegations weren't true, which we all know they are, but Chris will never admit that. he will always say that the allegations weren't true, the things that the allegations made against him weren't true. Because he's way too scared to actually admit the truth about what he did. And he will always be too scared to admit that because he knows what the consequences would be if he did admit that. He knows that, him admitting the truth about what he did would basically be game over for him and Sarah would be game over for their channel. It would basically be the end of them on YouTube if he ever admitted that. So he will never admit it. But we all know that he did what he did, and we all know that Sue and Noel shouldn't be having him around their heads. And I'm not going to apologise for saying that. It doesn't need saying. They should not be having, that man around their heads. It's not a good idea. There's nothing good about that. There's nothing sensible about having a proven child rumor around your kids. There's nothing sensible about that. It's like, well, I mean, to me that is, as I said at the start of the video, that is a bit of a child safety concern. The fact that they would allow someone like that to be around their kids. It's like, where is their hair for child safety? Because that should be a number one priority. That's what it's about. It's about child safety. It's about keeping, your kids safe and not allowing people like Christina to be around your kids, especially when you think about how serious the allegations were that were made against him. I just don't know what else to say, to be honest. But it is one of the most baffling things I've seen. And I thought I would do a video on, and I think this really needed saying. I think someone really needed to talk about this and talk about how stupid and ridiculous it is. The fact that the Radfords would allow someone like Christina, who was as controversial as Christina, to be around their kids. Because I think a lot of people look at that and think, well, what the fuck is going on there? Why the fuck would they allow him to be around their kids? I mean, if you're an idiot, if you're an idiot iFan or someone who supports their channel, then you won't see a problem with that. Because you're probably more inclined to believe that Chris didn't do anything. But we all know that there is proof, that there is evidence out there that proves what he did. And that evidence, that's never going away. The guy, they should not be allowing that man anywhere near their kids. It's as simple as that. I mean, I don't mean to sound negative, but it just has to be said. I mean, I certainly, if I was a parent, I certainly wouldn't allow someone like that near my kids. I wouldn't think that was a sensible thing to do. I wouldn't think that was a smart thing to do. I wouldn't think that was the right thing to do, to have someone like that, someone that's as controversial as he is, around my kids. It's not a sensible thing to do. It's actually an incredibly stupid and dumb thing to do. The fact that they would allow someone like him to be around their kids. It's one of those things that doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would you allow someone like that is as dodgy as he is and is as controversial as he is to be around your kids? Why would you be so okay with that? Why would you be so fine with someone that has the reputation that he has to be around your kids? Especially when you think about what he did and the allegations that have been made against him and the nature of the allegations that have been made against him. And obviously, as I said to Noel, but definitely stupid enough to believe that the allegations are not true, which we all know they are. And we all know that, there was no doubt in my mind, and there's no doubt in a lot of people's minds, that they should not be allowing Chris to be anywhere near their kids, to be around their kids. We all know that they shouldn't be. We all know that he should, but that they should be, but that they should probably distance themselves from the Inghams. I actually think they should be made to distance themselves from the Inghams. I'm surprised that their PR team that the Radfords PR team hasn't warned them about that. Instead, you need to hasn't actually warned them that they should distance themselves from the Inghams. That's what they should do. That's what the PR team should do. Their PR team should warn them that it might be a good idea to distance themselves from the Inghams. Because I think it probably would be a sensible thing to do, to kind of distance themselves from the Inghams and not have people like Christina around their kids. Am I really wrong for saying that? I don't think I am. So I hope you enjoyed this little video anyway. Thought I would give my thoughts on that. I'll see you for another video a bit later. Bye bye guys.